Fed up of wardrobes, driven to distraction and drowning with doom boxes? Tired of living in chaos? Welcome to Decluttering Untangled, how to declutter when you're overwhelmed, ADHD or autistic. I'm going to help you uncover the secrets to decluttering, no matter what hurdles you face. You'll discover how to declutter, de-stress and transform your world. I'm Heather Tingle, reformed hoarder, neurodivergent declutter queen, and your guide through the maze of mess. Let's get untangled. Hello, Untanglers, and welcome to another episode of Decluttering Untangled with me, your host, Heather Tingle. Now, today I want to chat about something that sounds really simple, but it makes such a huge difference when it comes to how you feel about your home. And that's knowing the difference between mess and clutter. Now, this has popped into my head as I admitted to my Untangled Life membership the other week on a body doubling session that what keeps me tidying my house and keeping it in check is the panic that one day someone will look into my home and see it looking a total mess. And if they take a photo, I'll be cancelled and it'll be terrible. Now, then we explored that a little bit and I realised that actually it wouldn't matter if they did that. Now, I wouldn't actually get cancelled. And I know that sounds a really silly thing to say, but I don't have anything to fear because I am always totally honest with my clients and my community and you that listen. And I'm a naturally messy person. And that, I'm hoping, is one of the reasons that you actually value what I say, because I get it. But there are times where my house does look a mess. And that's okay because I've got, 3 lots of client discards in my dining room. So I've got, 15 bags of discards, or I'm having a tough week and I've let things slip a tiny bit, or I'm in the middle of a big project and I've got things on the floor scattered around because I'm actually working on them. The thing is, that's mess. That's not clutter. So I really want to talk you through this, as I think it's really important to understand the difference between them and what you can do about it, basically. So, for example, you've got dirty mugs and plates stacked up on your kitchen counter. That's a mess. But the reason you couldn't put them away was because the sink was full, and the sink was full because you didn't have time to do it. But even if you did, the cupboard was full. It was already crammed and it's too difficult to put anything else in that cupboard because it's already full. So they don't have anywhere to go. Now, that is 2 different things. That is mess because you've not washed the pots. But the bigger reason as to why that's there is actually clutter. But they can look the same from the outside. So it might be that what you're doing is you're looking at your home and thinking it's a total mess and actually it's clutter. Or you're looking at the clutter thinking this is just mess. Now, in my opinion, there's a big difference between the two because for me, mess is temporary. So things are just temporarily out of place. Maybe you've got toys on the floor after playtime, laundry's dumped on the sofa, post waiting on the table. Now, ideally, obviously, none of those would be the case. But clutter is when there's too much stuff for the place or things don't really have a home. And that's why a lot of the time, the things that my clients struggle with are those little bitty, annoying little things that don't have a home. They don't have an obvious category. And that is clutter. They don't have a home. They don't have a category. You can't just tidy them away other than shoving them in a doom bag or hiding them wherever you can, because that's the difference between clutter and mess. And the thing with clutter is it takes decisions to deal with. A mess can only be dealt with once you've decluttered, in all honesty. So if you think about your own space, is the pile of clothes on the chair just waiting to be put away? That's mess. Is your wardrobe so full that there's nowhere for those clothes to go to, or you can't get to those clothes because you've got doom bags in front of the wardrobe, or you'll be tripping up over things to try and get to it, and it's not set up for your brain maybe, then it's too hard a job for you to do when you're overwhelmed. So that's clutter. Can you see the difference? I know it is quite subtle. And you might think, well, all right, my house is a mess. It doesn't really matter if it's clutter or it's a mess. Why is it important? And that's because if you confuse mess with clutter, you might end up feeling overwhelmed. You might make life more difficult for yourself in that the job might look bigger than it actually is. It might be it's the hidden clutter that you need to declutter so that the mess then has a place to go. Does that make sense? Because at the moment, you can't keep on top of the mess and you think that's some kind of failure. But actually, the reason why you can't keep on top of the mess is because the clutter's getting in the way. But if you sort the clutter, the mess then becomes so much easier to deal with. And actually, when you declutter, you can actually encourage mess. And that sounds like a really weird thing for someone like me to say. So when my daughter was little, I never let her do craft stuff in the house or make play dens or things like that. Because first of all, there wasn't any actual room to be able to do it. But secondly, I just couldn't cope with even more mess. Now, once I decluttered, and I think she was about 6 when this happened, then she was able to do these things because putting things back to tidy was so quick and easy that it made it a no-brainer. And then I would actually encourage her to get messy because it was fun for her and it wasn't a major nightmare for me anymore, with the exception of glitter. Now, once you've decluttered and organised, mess can be dealt with in like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. It is quick. Now, I'm not saying you'll always have the motivation to do it, but that's when those systems and strategies come in. They're not infallible. My house still occasionally gets messy, but the difference is I can tidy it up in 10 minutes and I can put things where they're meant to go rather than just shoved away. There is also an emotional side to it too, because mess is annoying and it's also, what's the word? It's overwhelming, isn't it? It's visually stimulating and that is not good for our mental health. But on top of that, there's the clutter. And that's the guilt, and that's the overwhelm, and that's the I don't even know where to start helplessness and hopelessness, in all honesty. Because mess, you think, well, I can get rid of the rubbish. I know you've got a kind of plan of action for that. Even if you don't do it, well, I can put that in the bin. I can shove that in, that can go in the recycling, that can get cleaned. You've got a plan for it, even if you can't do it right now. The problem with the clutter is, you haven't got a plan for it. You don't have a blueprint for it. You don't really know how to deal with it unless you've got my planner, of course, and that gives you the blueprint. But it's overwhelming. It feels like you're not in control of the situation and you never will be. And if you are listening to this and thinking that's you, please listen to me when I say you're not lazy. You are actually working harder than people who've got immaculate homes. And I think that's really important for you to know. Because there is always a reason why it's difficult, and it's usually the clutter rather than the mess. And there's usually a reason why letting go is hard. There is always reasons why. So it is not your fault, but it is something you can do about it. You can do something about it. You can be in control again. So next time when you look at a room, I want you to ask yourself, is this mess or is this clutter? If it's mess, then do a quick reset. If it's clutter, start small. One drawer, one cupboard, one space area. That's enough. Because once you've done that decluttering and organising, then trying to build routines to reset those spaces frequently makes such a difference to everyday life when you've got those little pockets that you can keep on top of and you can maintain really easily. And then that gives you the motivation to carry on with the other spaces and to carry on with it because you can see that it's working. So before you know it, you'll just be doing quick resets each day, second nature, and then having a lovely home. Even if it's at the minute shoving stuff that's on your sofa or settee, if you're in the UK, into a doom bag and then working on that doom bag. And then each night, just checking what else is on that sofa and putting it away because you've got it from somewhere. Put it away or put it back in that doom bag so that you've got a sofa you can sit on. And those little resets will make such a massive difference. Like for me, resetting by putting the remote control from the TV back by the TV, it takes me 2 seconds to do. But it makes such a massive difference to that is where it lives. That is its home. Every morning, the remote control is where I know where it is. Instead of searching around down the back of a sofa, under the table, under the sofa, trying to find it, it is in its place. And those little things of things having homes, those little resets really, really help. So that is something for you to think about this week. Have a look at what is mess and then figure out why it's mess. So what has made it messy? And what is the clutter behind it that's causing the problem, causing that blockage? What's the problematic mess? What's causing you stress? And what is the clutter that's then causing that issue? So there you go. That's something for you to think about. And if you want, let me know. I'd love to know what your issues are and what the main stresses are for you. Or pop it in the Facebook group and see if I can help. So until next time, be kind to yourself. Remember, you're not alone and keep untangling. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of Decluttering Untangled. If you found anything that I've said today helpful, please do me a favour, hit that subscribe button or leave me a review. It's like receiving a virtual high five that keeps me going and lets me know that I'm helping real people out there and I'm making a difference. Please remember, you're not alone in this. I'm building a community of fellow untanglers over on Facebook. Just visit the show notes for the link to my free decluttering community. So until next time, remember, you're not alone, you're not lazy, you can untangle your life.